magic. We are quacky, quacky, quack. Let's pull out that glass stick and smoke some quack. Right now, we're on the StreamYard. Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to another episode. We're getting deep of the Going Over podcast. I'm your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, promoter extraordinaire, 43-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Primetime Reeb, and I'm joined alongside my podcast partner, as always, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. And Mr. Paul, welcome to another late night at the GOP.
Nice. The Going Over Pod. Hey, guess what, man? It is episode number 40. It's crazy. 40.
And speaking of episode 40, I think we're at Wrestle. Welcome to Las Vegas, Nevada. You were just there. I'm probably pretty sure there's that line again. I'm probably pretty sure you saw the billboards and the big lights for the World Wrestling Entertainment's WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas,
indeed.
Nevada.
I saw all types of advertisements, man. It was crazy. When we went there, my daughter was like, "Are we going for WrestleMania?" I was like, "No, it's not this weekend, dude. It's next weekend." But tons of signs, all types of stuff. But, you know, we've been making a big push on trying to get more subscribers. So we need to remind everyone to please subscribe, follow, share, do all that stuff, man. Let's help us get to 500. That's the goal, man. We're creeping up on 200. So big push over the last week here. So
22 today. 22 today. Zack Primetime Reeb getting a little physical. And speaking of WrestleMania, it's something that we don't do, and I think we need to do it, but there's some good stuff going on. And I was thinking about it today, and I was like, there's some topics that I wanted to talk to you about with some of the big matches at WrestleMania that are very key when you look deep into these things. So I wanted to start out with John Cena and Cody Rhodes. And I was talking to someone the other day, and I said, they were talking about, I forget who I was talking to, but they were talking about this, that, blah, blah, blah. And I said, so one week Cena came out, and I think it was in like Brussels, Belgium or something like that. And Cody came out, and they did nothing. They did not touch. And then the next weekend, the next week on Raw, they came out, and once again, they did not touch. And then they came out in London on the third week, and they didn't touch until the end, and Cody hit him with a crossroads and left him laying in the middle of the ring. I don't think he should have left him laying like that, but so they've gone 3 weeks, almost a month, and they finally hit one move, right? They hit one move. And then last week, the fourth week, he wasn't even on Raw in Sacramento, this one, but the fourth week, Cena's not even there, and Cody's got all the belts on stands in the ring. So here's these guys. They have put a month, 4 weeks after this heel turn. Actually, they went a couple weeks after that. So they've gone 6 weeks, almost a month and a half after that heel turn at the Elimination Chamber, and they have physically touched one time. And I wanted to get your opinion on that. We talked about how we brought you in before with the choke slam and this and that. But this is just living I know it's a bigger level, but it's just living proof. If you watch AEW, everybody's always wrestling matches. Guys going for the titles are always wrestling somebody who shouldn't even be wrestling the champion, and they're going 20, 25 minutes, let alone, it should be like a 5-minute match for the number one contender going into a championship. So, I mean, we talk about it all the time. Let me get your opinion on this. Like, we literally we went 2 weeks after this big heel turn without seeing John Cena. It was just Cody out there for 2 weeks. And then we finally, when we hit the international European tour, here comes Cena, and things start to pick up 6 weeks, only 3 weeks with John Cena on TV. They made contact once, and then Cody cuts the final promo. We're coming into WrestleMania weekend. 6 weeks have gone by, a month and a half. 3 times we've seen the challenger that made the heel turn, and only 1 time was there actually any physical contact. And Paul, for me, I mean, this is the educational video on how to get them there without having to do anything.
Right, and that's absolutely right. We talk about how you draw a crowd, right? And this is building that anticipation to what's actually going to happen, right? So it's just it's like you said, it's an education in how to get them there, right? So I don't know, man. I don't think you can do it much better as far as building the anticipation of what's going to happen, right? You see these two guys together, but nothing happens. So you're like, and like you had mentioned, it's kind of putting across that that John Cena is like, you're not going to get your hands on me until it's the big one, right? Until there's some stakes. So I think that's the way that you tell the story. That's the way that you build the intrigue. You get these fans excited about it. And I know that, man, I don't know how many times I've talked to people that are like, I'm like, oh, it's in Vegas. Are you going? It's like, no, fuck no, I'm not going. The tickets are too expensive, right? And if this isn't a good way to sell tickets that people are saying are too expensive, I don't know what is, right? It's like you're going to build this anticipation for these people that they now probably want to go, well shit, man. I want to know what's going on. And you know what? What I might do is I might go there in person and I might check this thing out, right? Because I got to see live what's going to happen, right? So building that anticipation, you're trying to get people to part with their hard-earned money, right? They go work a job, put in a lot of hours to put this money in their bank account, and you're trying to get these people to part with their money, their hard-earned money. And I think this is the great way to do it, right? You build the anticipation of getting the people there to see what's going to happen, right? And what better way to do it than the way that they're doing it, right? You're not going to touch, so you're just going to build the anticipation of what happens when they finally do touch, So I think it's exciting for sure.
Well, I feel like maybe John Cena, I feel like even if he did lose, he's passing the torch to Cody Rhodes, right? But then I feel like if John Cena does lose, I mean, if John Cena has to win because he's a WWE guy, he's got to get number 17, whatever the fuck the record is for Ric Flair. But I feel like that would all be for nothing if John Cena doesn't win. And we haven't seen The Rock in these 6 weeks since the Elimination Chamber. And we haven't seen Travis Scott either. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait to see Travis Scott at WrestleMania. Hopefully he wraps John Cena to the ring and John's got new gear so I can totally mark out for it. And I might mark out for it. You never know. But we talk about that like WrestleMania is going to sell anyways because it's its own brand, right? It's its own identity. And I'm looking at it and it's like they said 60,000. Well, there's 2 nights. So if they sell out both nights, that's a total of 120,000 ticket sales because you got to buy them for both nights. You can't just buy them for one night.
Right.
And I'm looking at it and it reminded me of this last show when me and Skits, we had built that up for a very long time. And on indie wrestling, you still got to go out there and you still got to put up the posters and the flyers and you got to put in the hard work, which the hard work was put in. But to the audience, we hadn't touched. And even though we went out there and had a stinker, you know what I mean? We stunk the place up. You have to remember sometimes maybe the boys in the back know it was bad. Maybe you guys on commentary know like, oh man, this one could have been bad. But a lot of times, especially on the indie scene, the fans don't know it's bad. You know what I mean? Even the fans in WWE, because they are generating Like it's Easter weekend. It's in Las Vegas. That's not really kid friendly. And it's Easter weekend, but people are going to travel around the world from all over. It's a destination, man, to see this thing. So I just know, like, man, they've done a really good job of building this up, and I think a lot of people need to realize that it doesn't have to be the most physical. It doesn't have to be the greatest technical wrestling match in the world. There's one hell of a story going into that, and I feel that night one, I actually saw the full card. I'm actually more interested in watching night one, which was in 7 matches, than I am night two. The thing I'm really interested in night two is I want to see what happens in that fucking main event. They got me on night two. I don't think the card's as solid. It's only 6 matches it showed, but I don't think it's as solid on night two. But they're leaving that one cliffhanger out there for us on night two. They're like, John Cena versus Cody. Is The Rock going to show up? So they've done a good job of putting this together and selling us. We got to tune in to night two, even if the rest of the card stinks.
Right. And I think that's what it is. I mean, we've talked about it in the past about how when you have a couple of matches, sometimes you don't want to put them on the same card, right? Because you think, well, this match by itself can sell out this night, and this match by itself could sell out this night. We always talk about it on our product, where it's a month apart or whatever, weeks apart, where you're like, well, I'm not going to give them these couple matches because I think they can individually all do their own. They could main event or they could be the match of the show. So you're going to put a match on this show, then you're going to save another match for a different show. So in this scenario, we're doing back to back nights. So you have some things that are going to happen on the first night, and then you have the cliffhanger that's going to be on the second night. So you have the things that people are going to want to see and pay their money to see on each individual night. You're not going to put them on the same night because then maybe there's, oh, well, I'm not that interested in the other night then.
Well, that night one, man, I mean, even though Jey Uso won the Rumble and Michael Cole actually lied to us and said Jey Uso will now main event WrestleMania, which he will semi-main event night one, which it looks like, against Gunther, which boy, let me tell you, boy, I'm ready, man. Like that's a baby face right there. That guy's a baby face. And we talked about it before. He lost on Saturday night's main event. He won the Rumble. God, they have done an amazing job with that storyline. And it's one thing that I really like in this storyline. And it's not the fact that he beat up Jimmy when he was bleeding everywhere and cuffed him. That's great. And it wasn't the fact that he came out all serious. What I like, and I hear some guys talk about it. I hear Bubba Ray talk about it all the time on Busted Open. And it's something that I've always talked about. I like the emotion when the heel, because we get all these baby faces, and this goes for everyone. When you're a baby face and you're cutting that promo on the heel, a lot of times the heel's just like, yeah, whatever. I'm a big, tough badass, and I don't care what you say. I like when the babyface says something and the heel actually sells the emotion, like, oh shit, whoa, I'm a little worried now. Maybe I went too far. Maybe I pissed the baby face off, because the baby face is saying something with intent. He's saying this with intent, and the heel is also getting this over, and he's getting that baby face over by reacting the proper way to it. And I that storyline right there, they've done such a good job of building that up. I actually saw a like a little reel or a meme, and it was from Home Alone, and it's Jey Uso on Macaulay Culkin's head, and he's walking outside, and he's like, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid anymore. And then the old man with the shovel that lived next door, he looks up at him, and it's Gunther's head on the old man's body with the shovel. And and the Jey Uso Macaulay Culkin goes, ah, and runs back in the house, and Gunther's laughing, and it's like when you can make memes like that with movies with these guys, and just it makes me laugh. It's like they've done a good job of, I want to see this match. That one and that triple threat match, which Paul Heyman better turn and go with Seth Rollins, because it's the only thing that's going to make sense coming out of that. Punk and Roman don't need it. There's 3 matches right now that I want to watch the body of work, because these guys are professionals, and they're going out there and they're just giving you an education in how to draw this audience in without killing yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And I think, when you are excited as a pro wrestler, and I think I always talk to people about that, right? And I think you've said it too. It's like you're gonna start hating pro wrestling after you start training to be a pro wrestler, because you're gonna see all the little things, right? And I'm gonna make you go from a wrestling fan to hating pro wrestling, because you're gonna see all the little ins and outs, and I'm gonna ruin it for you. So to be a pro wrestler and be bought in and excited about seeing certain matches, that says all the right things about what WWE is doing to draw the attention, right? So I don't know, and I always kind of put it towards, like, if you're watching a match and you're keyed in, what's going on, that's a work, but when you start getting bought into certain situations where you go, fuck man, these guys look like they hate each other, or man, that looked really stiff, or whatever, you know, where you're kind of in that realm of the disbelief, suspending disbelief, things like that. So when they can make you buy in as someone who knows what's going on behind the scenes, and knows how all the inner workings, that's when you know that they're doing a really good job of of selling the product, right? Making things interesting enough where you, as a pro wrestler yourself, get excited to see what's going to happen. That's when they're doing it the right way.
Well, I want to enjoy, man. I'm always going, and I've gotten a bad, rap over 26 years, where people are like, we talked about me and Adam Thornstowe running when there's no monitor backstage, when we know it's just going to be a complete dog fuck match. We run to the curtain to fighting each other. Let me see for 10 seconds. And we want to watch this bad stuff going on. But I absolutely love good matches. I absolutely love when everything is done right. And I don't mean it's perfect. You know what I mean? Progress over perfection, right? Like, we're never going to have perfection, but I just love to see it done right, man. I love to see the story make sense. I love to see proper usage of crowd psychology. I love the selling. I love good heat. I love a great comeback and a finish. And I like a finish that you didn't see it coming. Even if the guy plants you with this finishing move, you didn't see it going this way, and you didn't see any of this just played out in front of you. I was talking today, something that was really getting, it was like, I was talking with a couple guys, and it was the skeleton of the match, the skeleton of the storyline. Here's what I want to see. And I don't give a shit about the moves, but like, here's where we're going with this, right? And one thing that was really cool to me, and we've done 3 in Orville now, and we got more coming up, but this last one was the last time you'll see the Appeal wrestle the dudes in Orville. They're going at it in Red Bluff. We're definitely going to see them again in Yuba City. But the fact that we've gotten since October, so November, December, January, February, March, 6 months, we've got half a year and 3 matches out of these 2 teams. And the audience didn't get bored with this. And we built it up and then exchanged the championships. And I look at that and I look at all four of those guys in that match, and I go, man, you gave us half a year. You gave us 3 matches in the same town. All of them were different, and we got the big pop out of this town. So we've milked this town for what we can out of you guys. Now we have this town, and now we have this town. And it's a different dynamic going into match 4 because now these guys are walking into Red Bluff as the champions for the first time, but they're walking in to the dudes' hometown. So they're going to walk in as the baby faces that are going to get booed the fuck out of the building. And no matter what these guys do, they're going to cheer the shit out of them. And that's something I wanted to talk to you about because I know you're big on it, is knowing your audience. And it's not just knowing your audience like, oh, they're going to chant 1, 2, 2 or stuff like that, or this is awesome. But knowing your audience, because like, what if they walk into that hometown, and what if the hometown guys turn on the hometown guys and they like the babyface tag team champions? I mean, then the whole concept of the way something could run has to audibly you got to pull an audible on it and change everything. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I think that that's kind of the example that pops into my head is Bret Hart, right? They said this guy's a heel everywhere except for when they go to Canada, right? And then all of a sudden he's a babyface. So you definitely are going to have to, you go in thinking one thing, right? You think, oh, I'm going into my hometown, they're going to be behind us. But just like you said, what if it happens where they're behind the baby face, right? And then you do have to pull that audible. You have to go in a different direction. We always talk about listening to the crowd, but that would be the ultimate of having to listen to the crowd. And then you have to make that decision, right? Do we flip, right? Do I start working babyface now and you start working heel, or what do we do in that situation? How do we adapt to either flip the crowd to the way that we thought it was going to go, so we can work the match that we thought we were going to work, or vice versa? How do we deal with if we go into our hometown and all of a sudden our hometown crowd isn't behind us? Then we have to make that switch. We have to flip that switch at that point, and that's going to be, that'll definitely be the tell if if these guys are as good as we think they are, right? If they're doing as good of a job and learning the way that we think they are. So I think that's a great test, man. You go in there hoping it's going to be one way, but hopefully well aware that it potentially could go just the opposite, right? It could be there's fans here that are cheering for the baby face, and you got to figure it out from there. So you got to put your work boots on that night and be ready to go.
100%. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about, man. I've just been like, my brain, man, since that last show, my brain's really been cooking it. And I started to think about a lot of changes that I've made in my company. And with getting rid of some people over time, and you start to, like, especially going through this recovery, you start to like, I like myself now. I love myself. I have self-worth. My eyes now in this realm of this recovery, everything's just clear as crystal to me right now. I'm seeing everything and everyone for what they are. And one thing in the changes that we've made, I've noticed, in those changes, a lot of people got mad at me because we moved on. Our tenure was done, whatever it was. And some guys were like, well, what about what I did this 5 years ago, or I did this for you 10 years ago. And I am thankful for that time then, but we moved on. We grew. And if you're not growing, you're not getting any better. You're wasting time. And one thing I always think about, I started thinking about this, and I wanted to talk to you about it, is, excuse me, okay, so you helped me back then. We did this work back then. We failed, right? So I had to pick my ass back up and I had to keep moving forward. I kept working for 5, 10 years, whatever it was beyond that. And I grew as a promoter. I grew as a trainer and a coach. I grew as a guy booking the show and promoting the show. So I have grown as all those things in the last decade. And one thing you realize is even if somebody is an acquaintance or your friend or they've been around for this many years, a lot of these people don't realize they're not growing with you. There's struggles that are going on here. And I know you are in the same boat with your company. It's like you had these people before and then now you're in a different place you have a different vision, you have a different place you're trying to go, and it's the work you continue to put this work in well beyond the time that some of these where some of these other guys just checked out. They
Right.
stopped training as hard, they stopped promoting, they stopped doing the things that they were supposed to do, and new people come along, man. That's any business, right? Like any business you get involved in. My job, I ended up being expendable at the end of my job, and people moved on, and it was like, man, I thought for the longest time like they need me to do this, and then at the end of the day it was like, well, I was doing what they needed me to do at the time, but as they grew and they moved on where someone else went, my job position wasn't even something that they needed anymore.
Right. And I mean, we talk about that all the time about just, we have this feeling that we're irreplaceable, and then you come down to it and situations happen and you realize that you are replaceable, that someone else can just step in and take your role at what you're doing, So I know for us it's been, trying to move on and get, you have people, obviously we're all getting older as well, so you can't expect, and I've heard people say that it's like, oh well, people my age are starting to retire and things like that, and I'm still going and things like that, but it's just kind of the cycle of life, man. We have to, um obviously we'd like to surround ourselves with people that we can trust and people that we know that are going to do good business and things like that. But we also have to understand that we're getting older, and we're maybe moving in different directions as far as vision is concerned. So I think about, like, we were just talking today after training about the different towns that we have people that are training coming from. So it's like, all right, well, we're going to go to this town where we've got a couple people that drive into training from, and it's an hour away, and then another town that's a half hour away, and then 70 miles a different direction. And so it's like, kind of based off of your model, the things that you're doing right now with the different towns that you're running in, it's something that's, it's hopefully something that can be duplicated. Your plan of action can be something that we can use here as well. So instead of just running 10 or 12 shows in one town at one building, you go, okay, well, we're going to take this to this other town down the road and let's see how it works there. But we've also got another town that we're going to go work on getting into as well, and so you can kind of see, like, well, we're going to go to this town and see how it works out, and if they like it, then obviously it'll be something that they want to have come back, and then you can kind of spread it out and make what you're doing in your hometown a little bit bigger of a deal, right? So where you can try to draw some of these outside towns and people that are enjoying what you're doing in those towns, and you can say, hey, you know what? We're building this match. We started talking about WrestleMania, and we're building this story in this town. But if you want to see how it plays out, then you need to travel to this other town, this bigger venue, bigger deal, right? So I think that that's a great thing to think about, is not dwelling on the past and going, oh, I wish it was like that, but thinking towards the future, and how can we make what we're doing better, and how can we reach more people. We're in that phase where we're trying to train the next phase of people, right? We want to get people that can, I don't want to say replace us, but we want to get people that have the knowledge, and you can kind of impart that on people so they can kind of keep what we love going further on. So, and I think that that's what happened. The people that trained us, that was their vision as well. They probably had some vision of making it big, and hey, well, then this guy will be able to run it because I've trained him up where he knows how to do everything. So I mean, that goes into all the different aspects, man. You're showing people how you want to promote your product. You show people, this is how we set up our ring. This is how we load it onto the trailer. Like, you'd like to be able to step away and put your feet up and just do whatever, right? To handle things that are way more important than what we perceive as the little things, the setting the ring up, setting up the chairs, and putting, maybe even putting the card together. You'd like to be able to, like, hey, you know why don't you take control of this, and then I can focus on the monetary growth of my company. So yeah, I think that's a great point. That's what we're trying to do, man. We're trying to make this thing bigger and better. And we can't be caught dragging our feet because this person fell behind or whatever. We talk about doing that all the time. You replace someone on the card, and then people are like, oh, what happened to that person? It's like, well, the person that filled in did a great job, so we're running with that person. So unfortunately, we'd like to think that we're irreplaceable, but the reality is we can all be replaced.
Well, it's a lot of drama, man. It's like you cannot get rid of somebody and it not like there had to be a there's always got to be a problem why we move on. It's like that's the natural phase of life. Is you move on to something bigger. If you're not if you come through a company and your goal is not to move on to something bigger and do something bigger with your career, guys shouldn't be moving on and then like I hate these people. Well, why? Why do you hate these people? Because you've plateaued, you've flatlined in your career, and this is the highest that you're ever going to go. And then we can sit here on a podcast and we can just talk about these theories, and there's going to be 20 to 30 people sitting over there going, fuck that dude, he's talking shit about me right now. And it's like, man, don't kid yourself. I'm not talking shit about you. The reason you haven't done anything in this business and you haven't made any money in this business over a span of 10 to whatever years is because I'm talking about every single person that you fall into that category with, because there's so many people who don't do anything in this wrestling business. And I sit here and people go, oh, Zack just wrestles at PCW. And I'm not trying to brag about anything, but I make my money doing professional wrestling. Between the training, between the shows I run, I have 3 towns right now. I have my town, I have Oroville, which I've spent 15 fucking plus years building up. And now with the dudes, Red Bluff is killing it. And we got Doc Haywood. We're about to move into Chico and then up into Reading. So it's just that consistent, no risk, no reward. And no matter what you do in life, not everyone's going to like you, man. They're not.
Absolutely.
And I used to care, right? Like, Paul, I used to care. I used to be like, man, I don't want that person to hate me. I want everybody to like me. And then you realize at the end of the day that all these people that you want to like you are just, man, they are just begging. Sometimes when you get drunk, it comes out. They're just begging. They're just pleading for you to fail so they can tell you, I told you so. Or see if I would have been there and we wouldn't have separated. But that's professional wrestling is this thing where instead of being a little bitch or fucking whining and crying about something or wanting a participation trophy, when you come through this is how the company grows. When you come in, my job is to coach you. 288 hours, 12 months, right? We talk about it all the time. When you pass that, I'll give you work. I got work for you. I got work here for you. I got work everywhere else for you. But the goal is we all sit here and go, man, are we ever going to? You've been lingering around this fucking place for 5 to 10, sometimes more years. Why the fuck are you still lingering around? Get the fuck out there. Go do something. Make some money. You want to return a favor to me instead of bitching at me because after 10 years or whatever you're gone and we replaced you or you just moved on. How about you return the favor for what we've done for you and go out there and get a good job somewhere so you can where they can go, man, you're solid. Where'd you come from? Oh, I came from the Reno Wrestle Factory. I came from Primetime University. Give us some advertisement, man. I would like for Triple H or Shawn Michaels to hit me up and go, hey, would you like to come down to the Performance Center for a weekend? We'll fly you down here, pay you a couple bucks, and you can help coach some of the young NXT talent. I'd like that. I've 26 years. Could I get a little bit of that fucking action? You know, excuse me, but it's like, there's just so much hatred in professional wrestling. And it's like, guys, nobody's making any money. You're not making any money doing it. What the fuck are you so mad at me for? Why are you trying to sabotage some poor young guy or somebody else for a spot on the card when nobody's making a living doing it, man? It's like you don't need to fucking throw somebody under the bus, and you don't need to go online to a bunch of people that don't fucking know you and go, you know what? I'm the greatest thing alive, and these guys, they did me dirty. And it's not just in my company. I see it everywhere, man. You just turn on that Facebook, and we talk about it all the time. It's one of our favorite things.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we're talking about being replaceable, but what about the other side of the coin? Being unique, being something that people go, well, that's different. I'd like to have something like that in our company. So, the thought popped in my head yesterday, right? We have a new girl that's training at our company, right? So she comes in, and we're going through this. Her only her third session, so just feeling her out and stuff, just trying to figure out like what she thinks is going to happen, what's going to go on, and it triggered this memory of it was someone that trained at our company, also someone that you trained as well, also a female, right? That had all these different things. So I was explaining to this girl yesterday. Let's say, you take all of pro wrestlers and then you take the females out of that, right? So the female portion of that just chops that population down significantly, right? Because I'm trying to tell her about how unique she potentially could be, right? So you take the females, so that chops down the population to a certain percentage. And then in the case of the person that you and I both coached, was she's very tall. So I was like, so female and 6 feet tall. That's unique. And then you add the next part of that is the ethnicity, which just chops it another layer. Being athletic chops it another layer, so we were just trying to emphasize to her about like, especially the females in the professional wrestling business, and I use the term, a pro wrestling 10, right? And generally you refer to a pro wrestling 10, that's someone who in regular life they might be a 6, right? But when you're a female in pro wrestling, there's not that many of them around. And then the super gorgeous, knockout girls are very few and far between, right? You see them maybe a little bit more on the big stage because there's more exposure, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for amazing looking women that can be a pro wrestler, athletic, and all the attributes. But on the independent scene, you don't have a lot of that. So it's like, if you have those attributes, if you're, female, you have a certain size, you have a certain look, you're athletic, it puts you in this completely different category, um, into where you're desirable, right? It's like, oh, well, I want to put a pretty girl on my poster, because that's going to draw eyeballs. The same as, you put a good in shape looking, a guy that looks like a pro wrestler. Those are the guys you want to put on your poster to get attention. So I'm trying to explain this, about how you become unique and how you become that person that people are like, wow, man, this is something completely different. And it made me think of like the Timothy Thatchers that had a completely different style than everybody else. The Adam Thornstows that, you had, the ability to do so many different things. And with the gymnastics background, all the body control. And then you think about like Jeff Cobb type guys that were bigger but super acrobatic as well. And then obviously we've talked about Brian Cage before. That's kind of the combination of all those things, right? You have that
Cal
strength
Jack.
back, right? Cal Jack, exactly, yeah. So a real live, high level, amateur wrestler, right? That you also don't see a whole lot of, right? Because I guess back in the day it was very like it was. I almost felt like it was frowned upon, right? I don't want to do that phony pro wrestling because I'm a real wrestler, right? I'm an amateur wrestler, and especially when you get those Division 1 wrestlers, you don't see a whole lot of those high level, big time athletes like that getting into pro wrestling. So, how do you go about, um, separating yourself? We were just talking about being replaceable, but how do you get to that category where you're less replaceable, where you're like, man, I got to have this type of guy on my show. This is the type of guy I need in my company. So how do people get to that level? Um, and how do we get across to people, the importance of doing that, not just being the cookie cutter, 5'8", 150-pound guy that does a whole bunch of flips and acrobatics.
Well, I mean, Illumide, a lot of guys out there, but recently with Travis Alexander, I've been talking, he's been messaging me on the phone, and it's really been cool watching this guy navigate. Like, he got on an airplane and flew down for the NWA or TNA tryouts with Santino Marella. He gave me feedback the whole way through. He came back, and then he went down to Matt Freeman and those guys at the 209 thing. Hernandez came in for a 3-day thing, and then he was right over there. And then he calls me and says he wrestles a guy and sends me the footage at the grilled cheese festival for the NWA, which Oasis Pro is involved in that. And I'm like, man, it's really cool watching this kid take a chance and navigate on what he feels he needs to do. And on that women aspect, I had a complete change of heart for the athleticism and the talent of women wrestling when I was bringing in all those girls, Lainey Luck from Chicago, Maya World from Texas. I just happened to get on an airplane, and I watched Maya World and Leia Leone, the Leonis from DFW in Texas. And I was like, damn, these girls are good. Like Maya World and La Leona, they were great, man. They put on a great match in that bar. Lainey Luck, not only is she a good-looking girl with amazing talent, and probably one of the most talented women I've seen, lacking in the promo department. And that showed when she came here, because we did a lot. Like, in ring, can't touch that girl. And she's a big fan of Lucha Libre. She's so athletic. And like I mentioned before, her family lives down the road here in Yuba City from me. So that worked out. But Lainey Luck, it was like, I saw because we do all the production, we do all the interviews and stuff like that. And that was something that I felt she benefit more in bringing her in. But Lainey Luck, Maserati, I mean, she got injured and blew out her ACL or something like that. But Kylan King, man, she was hot there for a while, but we brought her in. God, I mean, some of these girls, man, were just like really, really good. And back in the day, before they both got picked up, Shotzi Blackheart, Thunder Rosa, and the girl you were just talking about was Dorada, and it was like, man, those were all really talented women. But the one thing that made them special, and has probably continued to make them special, besides being very ambitious and getting out there, was they were just cool. Because that's the stigma in the locker room with these women is I don't want to throw the word out there and offend anybody, the C word or the T word or the B word, but it's like, these women were cool. Like Shotzi used to come down and crash during the weekend and train. I train her, and she was just cool, man. She was just cool to hang out with. She was just a cool chick. Thunder Rosa was just a cool chick. Desi was just a laid back, really cool chick. And like when Maya World came in, cool chick. Milo's a really cool chick, man. And I created a relationship with these people where I messaged them and talked to them, but you just see the difference. And when you do that, to answer your question, I just had to throw that out there. But to answer your question about that is, you see somebody that's actually putting in the work, but not only are they putting in the work, you build a relationship with this person where you're supporting them, where you're rooting for them when they go places. Even if they say they got to pull themselves off your show or they can't make it, it's like, who gives a shit? They're out there doing something. At least they had the decency. Like when Journey messaged me 2 weeks before the show, I was going to wrestle him. I was excited about wrestling him. And he was like, hey, Oos, I got something big coming up. And whatever he had coming up, the motherfucker just walked out on MLW with Alexander Hammerstone, and Juicy's there too. It's like, oh, yeah, apparently you did have something big coming up. And as a promoter, you have to respect those people, man. You have to respect, and you got to cheer for them, because I'm in no position right now to offer a Journey Fatu or a Jacob Fatu or somebody else something big. There's bigger stuff out there. And that's what I know. There's bigger stuff out there. When Travis said, I can't make this show to work this match because I'm heading to TNA for that. Hey, man, totally understandable. We'll figure something out, bro. So when you talk about the replaceable, it's harder to replace somebody that works on their body, has a great attitude, is willing to be upfront with, like, that's who I want in my locker room. I want the guy and the girl who's going to be honest, and they're going to communicate with me. They're not just going to be some fucking prick that just ghosts me or gives me some excuse about something. Honesty, reliability, most important, be on time.
Absolutely. So, I mean, definitely what I'm hearing from you, and I guess I kind of um, just kind of missed the whole subject with the amount of work ethic these people have, how much they're interested in pro wrestling, and that they want to learn and all these different things, because it's one thing to be something great to look at, which I think in a lot of senses is a way to get onto a card, right? You're something good to look at. Somebody's going to be like, oh, good look, whatever it is. Huge muscular guy, beautiful women, things like that. But that missing factor, and I think a lot of senses, is how hard you're willing to work, right?
Mhm.
Because I think, like in Desi's case, I was thinking like, the biggest thing about her was her just showing up to every training, like the thirst for knowledge. How can I get better? Those type of things. So, trying to impress upon people that you can have a certain look, you can have a certain personality, but the ability to go in there and work hard, like you said, communicating, all these different things, is huge, right? You can have these things that you would think are like, kind of the uh, the things that you need to have, the look, whatever, the promo, whatever it is. You can have all of those great things, but if you're not willing to put in the work, if you're not interested in what's going on, if it's more like, oh, that looks like a great way to make some money, right? Maybe that's not the reason for you to get into pro wrestling. But the girls that you talked about, definitely, every one of those people was like, I remember Thunder Rosa, seeing her at so many different places where she's trying to learn, and then just being so excited when she was going to be on one of our shows, and she's like, "Hey, I got an opportunity to go to Japan," and just like, wow, man, that's an awesome opportunity, and you just wish them well, and hopefully they do great. And then when you see them, making a living off of pro wrestling, then that's just one of those things that just makes you smile. And we talked about, we want people to get out of our promotions, right? And it's not because we want to get rid of them. It's because we want them to learn what they can from us, get what they can, whatever it is. And then we want them to go on and get something better. You talked about journey. And that's the goal. You want them to get what you can give them. Learn as much as you can from me, so you can take that to the next level, and you can do better than what I can offer at this stage. So I think great points there, and I'm just hoping that we can kind of impress on people those type of qualities, to get to that next level.
I wish I would have been in my recovery. I wish I would have been where I'm at now, and not a damn drunk all the time. When Desi was here, and Thunder and Shotzi and stuff like that, because I feel like I could have been a better leader, a better role model. And those are things that I look back on. And I do have resentments for things like that with some talent, where I was like, damn, man, you could have been better. You're giving the people now. And there was a time where I was given, it bounced, man. It was like a roller coaster match. Hey, I'm good for 4 years. Hey, I'm fucked off for 6 years. Hey, I'm good again. I'm fine. And I wish, like, in those situations, I could have been a better coach. But that's part of growing too. And we always talk, like, with the women too, it becomes this like sexist, misogynistic or whatever thing. And it's like, yeah, you are good looking. You are athletic. Oh, you can talk too. Oh, you're ambitious and you'll try other things. It's like, what do we say about the men? We're like, man, that guy has a great body and a good tan, and he's tall and good looking and athletic. The women have to be the same fucking thing. You know what I mean? We're like, oh, that girl's got a big ass, curvy hips, and a huge chest. Oh, she's hotter than hell, and she can talk and work in the ring. Oh, you just like her because she looks good. No, I like the girl because she's got it all. And that's what we're looking for. So for us to say, oh, it's not about the the way the woman looks. Well, it's about the way the man looks too. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing. If you see an out of shape man with belly hanging down to his kneecaps or whatever, you're like, oh God, that guy's out of shape. He doesn't work out. People point that out, but it's not okay to point that out about the women in wrestling too, because this is the same thing. It's like, man, Lainey Luck and Kylan King are incredible performers. And I've seen a lot of great. I mean, if you honestly ask me, I see WWE, AEW, that girl, Fallon Henley, I think is her name. I'm gonna tell you right now, if I was Shawn Michaels, if I was down there, that's my star. That's who I'm pulling aside. She ain't no transitional champion. I'm taking that girl. She can talk. She looks amazing. She's athletic. Her gear is good. She's been around long enough. It's like, you take a girl like that and you put some serious, because you gotta trust this talent. We talk about that all the time. Is like, we're so like, this is what you have to do. No, let's trust the talent a little bit. Let's give him some trust. I was listening to Triple H on a recent interview, and he's like, you got to trust We got to trust these guys. And he even said it. Sometimes we as promoters have to take the L, even though the loss, even though we know we're right and they're wrong, just to let them try it out. So, ladies and gentlemen, five minutes remaining in this podcast. What do you think about that, Paul? What do you think about taking the L sometimes? And just letting these guys, because we got to be able to trust the talent, right?
Absolutely. And we talk about that on a regular basis. Like, I think about the match times, right? There was a point where I was very much like, it's going to be 6 to 8 minutes. It's going to, whatever, putting a time on it. And then, slowly but surely going, you know what? Let's give these guys the opportunity. And hopefully they're listening to the crowd and doing the right things, right? So, kind of letting go of the reins a little bit and going, hey, you guys have to figure this out, right? So, I think that's I don't know. It's a great example of you have to do that. You have to let the reins loose a little bit and go, hey, go out there and learn, right? Because we often talk about you can't just always win, right? There has to be some losses in there for you to grow from, and that's what's going to ultimately get you to the point where you're going to be successful. Going through some failures and figuring it out. And obviously with wrestling, it's, going out there and stinking it up every once in a while, right? And understanding, this worked, but this absolutely didn't work. I can do this again, but I'm going to eliminate this part. So definitely going out there and giving these guys a little bit of freedom, let them feel it out, let them fail on their own, because I think just like having kids, you'd like to tell them, avoid doing this, right? Because this is going to be bad news. But you also have to let them learn on their own. They have to fail on their own. Sometimes those are the best ways to learn, is going through some sort of failure where you go, oh shit, man, I learned so much from that experience. And going forward, I'm going to be able to do much better. So definitely giving them some freedom I think is the way to go for sure.
Well, they're already going to go out there and they're gonna fuck up, or they're not gonna fuck up. They're gonna learn something. Either way, the amount of fans you're gonna have at your show is not gonna change. Once the bell rings, you might get a few stragglers coming in, but once we've started this show and we've let them in, and the show has started, and we're into match 1, going into match 2, you're not gonna sell any more tickets. They're already there. So it doesn't fucking matter what you do. You could be super critical of these people and be like, oh my God, you ruined my whole life. You didn't ruin my whole life. You make the mistake. Give these guys a chance. I am at this place in my life right now where it's like, be on time. Don't show up. Don't show up late to class. Don't show up late to the show. Don't try to change what we're doing. You can have a certain amount of freedom. I got this shit on lock, man. I'm with my production guys. I'm promoting this shit. I'm at every training session. I'm talking to all the talent, even outside talent, so I don't have to gather them around the ring and have a stupid booking meeting, okay? So if you're somebody who's going to show up and go against, like, I paid for this shit. This is my shit. This is what I want. It's what nobody else wants, because nobody else is paying for it. It's my show. It's your show. It's Big Ugly show. It's Samurai and Scoot show. It's Gabe Ramirez's show. It's Sparky's show. It's their show. Show the fuck up and ask them what they want out of you. And we're going to give you some freedom. So go ahead. Have some fun with it. If you fuck up, you fuck up. Who cares, right?
Absolutely. That's what it's all about, man. Just going out there. We talk so much about just how this is a learning experience and just trying to get better. And that's really what this whole podcast is about, man. Just trying to get out there, giving some of our experiences, and hopefully it helps guys get better in the future.
And with that, Paul, WrestleMania weekend, let's have some fun. We're going over.